Welcome, parents. We are so excited that you are here. Thank you so much for joining us for our very first Mighty Middle School Parent University. I'm excited about these times. It's an opportunity for us to get together to talk about relevant topics that impact you and your families and your scholars. And it's an opportunity for us to just share some information with you. So I hope that you will continue to join us. We will do parent universities monthly, every month that your scholar's in school from now until the end of the year. And we are so just hopeful that what we're able to provide for you is helpful and insightful. So tonight we are talking about safeguarding our kids online. We are going to talk about cyberbullying and how this connects, and social media, and phone usage or screen time. So dig in with me. We've got about 20 minutes worth of information to give you. And here we go. So the very first thing that I want to do with you is that the more social media we have, the more we think we're connecting. Yet we're really just disconnecting from each other. Social media is a really confusing place for young people. We feel more and more connected to people because we see their lives happening in front of us. But when in reality, because we only know bits and pieces of a person's life, we're actually much more disconnected than generations before. Tonight, we're going to overview social media, talk about some statistics, some benefits and potential dangers, creating room for open communication, and then practical safeguarding of your scholars' phone usage. These are the top 6 social media platforms. The ones we here at the school have the most interactions with, or the most concerns and issues with, are Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. You also probably have the most interaction with those 3 as well. Gaming. If you have a scholar who enjoys online gaming, this is another avenue in which they can communicate with other people. They have interactions with people from other parts of the world that maybe they don't know in person. So it's really important that as a parent, you are doing everything you can to know who your scholars are spending time with online, even in an online game. Some statistics that we're going to roll through. These are from May of 2023. The Surgeon General's report states that 27% of children ages 7 to 17 encounter harmful content online. Harmful content online can be anything from content about self-harm or suicide ideation, all the way up to pornography. And then we notice that adolescents who spend 3 hours or more per day on social media face double the risk of experiencing poor mental health conditions, including symptoms of depression, anxiety, and then more into that suicide ideation. We also notice that children who are on social media for extended lengths of time lose up to the equivalent of one night's sleep a week from social media usage. And then heavy use of digital media at 11 is actually associated with heightened risks of being overweight at 14. It's really important that in your child's adolescent years, which are right now 11, 12, 13 years old, this is where growth spurts start to happen and they need to sleep more. This is where their hormones start to change, and, voices are changing and all of those kinds of things. It's really important that sleep does not get messed up, and it's really important that they're being and staying active as much as possible. The emotional impact, 67% of adolescents feel like they have people online who can support them through tough times, with 71% of adolescents feeling like they have a place to show a creative side. It is really important that if these positive impacts are being had with your scholar, that you know who those people are, who they feel like can support them online, making sure that we're not talking about strangers. And then academic impact, 72% of students said they frequently or occasionally viewed social media platforms while completing schoolwork or studying. This multitasking is what has a negative effect on schools. So we see in the classrooms a lot scholars who want to listen to music or watch a video while trying to read a book or while trying to complete a project. This multitasking means that they're not fully plugged in and focused on the schoolwork that's in front of them, and therefore have less comprehension, and then more issues with keeping their grades up, things like that. You can see there's a lot of positive impacts to the internet. We say all the time that the internet is not the problem, it is how you utilize it that is. And so we see on the left hand side of this chart, there's some amazing positives. You're connected to more people around the world, you feel accepted. There's a some professional platforms. There's a place for advocacy, research, educational news, things like that. It can be super positive. The negatives, however, do make us want to take a pause and make sure that we know what our scholars are doing and how that can impact their learning and their growth. 60% of all teens report feeling little to no control over the data that social media companies collect from them. So this is, anytime you're online, your phone is constantly collecting data about you. You look at that dress that's pink, and all of a sudden a bunch of pink clothing is being advertised for you. The same thing happens with our kids. And then it's girls ages 15 to 17 are more likely than any other group to say that they don't post things on social media because they're worried about being embarrassed. This is an insecurity issue, a self-image issue. It absolutely distorts reality for kids. We see a lot of kids who will post things online they would never say in person. This is because they believe that what they put online isn't real. It creates peer conflict, negative exposures, like we talked about before. This could include up to pornography, and then peer influences. So this is where we start to see a lot of like self-harm, bullying, things like that. For sex trafficking, a lot of sex traffickers start online. They get in on Instagram and DMs young girls or young boys and convince them to sneak out, and just really being aware of what our kids are doing online. And then obviously, and of course, having access to purchasing illegal drugs. Again, same process of, you befriend somebody online, they send you a message. Over time, they start talking to you about, come meet me, let's buy drugs, let's do something. A lot of young people come to harm for that. Cyberbullying, it's very different than when we were growing up. And I say we because I grew up in the 90s, before internet. And so, uh, before mass social media and phones, you'd go to school, kids were mean, you'd go home, and now you're away from the mean kids and you only hang out with your friends. And there's an opportunity for you to get a break from the cruel or the mean things that people were saying. Because of our access to each other online, kids in this generation never get away from it. Cyberbullying can be especially cruel because, again, there's a distorted reality where kids are mean when they would never say those things in real life. Um, Anything you post online can spread quickly. And then generally the victim feels like they can't get away from it. So it absolutely threatens without having to show physical power. Now I don't have to hit you to show you I have power over you. I really just have to say something mean about you and then share it out to 100 people or more. And now now everybody sees what I said. You can see some statistics here. 4.8 bullying victims are 4.8 times more likely than those not involved in bullying to suffer from depression. Uh, Pure victims, meaning um, they are bullies. They've been bullied. Sorry, they've been bullied, but have never bullied anyone else. Are 4.3 times more likely to be involved in suffering from anxiety. And then this is the one that is just heartbreaking, is that male bully victims are 18.5 times more likely than those not involved in bullying to commit suicide. So it is really important that we understand that there is a cost to our kids being unkind to one another. There is a cost both in people's health, in their wealth, and in their social relationships. Long term, this isn't just in the moment, but there's a long term cost to bullying, cyberbullying, all of those things. So it is all about balance. Like I said, the internet is not necessarily a awful place. It's just, how do you balance it? How do you ensure that your kids are pursuing interests and hobbies, connecting with families and friends, achieving in school, while also having fun and learning in their use of digital media? I think one of the biggest things is creating space for that open communication. So, like I was talking about before, I was raised in the 90s, and things were a lot different. So, I think it's important to acknowledge that there is a generational gap. There's a difference in how we were brought up in this age range, with little to no internet, little to no social media, as opposed to where they're at now, which is just a constant um, thread of social media and um, texting and things like that. It's important to be open-minded. It's important to use language like, I want to educate you, as opposed to you can't do this, or I'm going to punish you. Like, I think discipline is a good thing. Discipline is helpful. But when we have conversations with our kids, it's important to do it from a place of, so let's talk about this so that I can educate you on something. Ask questions and don't make assumptions. I hear a lot of kids talk about the struggles that they have with people on social media, and it's not always pretty. And sometimes you can assume that maybe your kid has nothing to do with it. Maybe you can assume that your kid is the active bully, when maybe they're just like in retaliation of being bullied. So it is important to ask questions and not assume things. It's really vital that you set clear expectations around social media usage, and then practice communicating openly with your scholars. Um, Take the effects of social media seriously. I think that one of the worst things that we can do is tell our kids, well, don't worry about that, because they are worried about it. So it is important for us to acknowledge what's going on around them. Pull back the curtain of perfection. Like, nobody's perfect. Uh, Take pictures without filters. Post pictures without filters, so that your scholar understands that their most authentic self is their most beautiful self. Fostering failure and emphasizing effort. It's okay for kids to fail. They're learning. That's part of the process. For them to get it wrong, and then we teach them how to get it right. But opening those doors up and even admitting places where maybe you're working on. So some conversations to have with your kids might look like, so what does being bullied online look like? It's a great question to ask your kids. How would you know if you are bullying someone else online? Like, what is it that you would be saying or doing that might look like cyberbullying? For social comparison, you might want to ask, how can you view content that makes you feel good about yourself? Talking to your kids about why would they want to view content that made them feel poorly? Or how do you feel when you look at some content versus others? And are there things on social media that affect your emotional state? And if so, what did you experience? I think getting down to the why would you continue to view something on social media if it made you feel this way? I love the concept around creating a family social media plan or agreement. This is really just an agreement that says things like, for your family, when won't you use your phone? When can you use your phone? Who has the right to look at your phone? Who has the ability to shut off your screen time? I love the idea that there are times of the day or night or week that nobody in the house is using their phones and you're having family time. I also really enjoy when parents are setting boundaries on the fact that you can look at their phone anytime. That's very important. Set limits to the social media usage. What apps do you have to monitor your child's device? These are some suggestions of apps. Questodio, Bark, FamiSafe, Google Family Link. They all really do the same things. And essentially it blocks areas of the internet that you don't want your scholar to go to. I think it's important to block websites, monitor chatting. I really wanted to make a note here because it's not something that we've seen this year, but it is something that we've seen through the years. And that is making sure your scholars are aware that they should not be taking pictures of themselves that are inappropriate. And that if they do, because of their age, if they take the picture and it's on their phone, or if they send the picture, it is technically child pornography. So it is really important that you understand that if your scholar takes an inappropriate picture of themselves and sends it, they're actually distributing child pornography and could legally get in trouble. So it is really important. We're trying to teach kids like these are not things you want to do. When you turn 18, that's totally up to you. But before then, making sure that we're keeping private what needs to be private. And parents, feel free. I tell parents all the time, feel free to go through your children's phone. You have the right to do that. Look through their pictures, look through their text messages, look through their history, look through their social media usage. All of those things are incredibly important for you to have eyes on. I love boundaries that parents set that say kids are not utilizing their phones in private spaces. So you don't get to look in your phone. You don't get to have your phone in your bedroom by yourself, that kind of thing, just so that kids know there's always somebody kind of watching. Um, there are some app specific controls. I know Instagram has some for time limits. YouTube has some features about breaks. And then TikTok sets up some different family pairing features that you can add in so that you can control your scholars' social media usage. these are some resources to just kind of help fill your toolbox, your parent toolbox. Feel free to scan this code and get some of these free downloads in English and Spanish so that you guys have everything you need to really help support your scholar. And then that is it. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Thank you for just being amazing and partnering with us and allowing us to love and educate your kids. It means really the world to me. And as an member of the Mighty Middle School admin team, I really just want to say thank you from all of us. And I want to invite you to join us at our next Parent University on November 12th at 5 o'clock. We will have an online link, but we also would really love to see you in person. And we are going to talk all things grades and grade point averages. We're going to have some grade level representatives. Each of the admin will be there. So we're going to have a wonderful Q&A session with us. So bring all your questions so that we can talk about any concerns that you have, any questions that you might have about middle school and how your scholars are progressing through middle school, what's next, all of those pieces, whether you have a sixth grader or a seventh grader or an eighth grader, we want you to come and get all your questions answered. So we look forward to seeing you in November. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.